Hey everyone, and welcome back to Horror Movies for Life YouTube channel. And the 1982 horror movie we're going to take a look at today is a slasher movie, a fairly well-known slasher movie, I would say, from 1982. Maybe not entirely well-known, not to the degree of like a Friday the 13th, but the movie we're going to take a look at is Girls' Night Out. And I have a great edition of this, the Arrow Blu-ray edition here that I got. It's in my collection, and so we got the slip cover, and then you've got the cover there. But the best thing about this release is it's got a whole ton of special features on it. I don't know how well you guys can see that, but there's interviews, there's documentaries, there's commentary, um, video interviews. Yeah, it pretty much it isn't just your typical. A lot of times you'll just get a trailer and maybe a commentary. This has got a lot of backstory, a lot of interviews, and documentaries and things, which is really awesome. Um, Dearest, you know what really turns me on? I'd love to be scared. Weird and kinky motor running girls' night out. Just kind of reading the cover there. Um, So anyway, I just wanted to show that the tagline is they all went in, but only a few got out. That's a kind of a typical slasher tagline, but still, just I have to point out the release before I get into the movie because this is one of the best Arrow releases that I have. I can honestly say that, and frankly, it's one of the best Blu-ray releases of any horror movie that I have, or at least that I've reviewed so far. But let's go ahead and get into the movie Girls' Night Out, a 1982 American slasher. I think it's also known as The Scream Maker, if I'm not mistaken. That's not in my notes here, but I've seen that somewhere. I think that's an alternate title for it, The Scream Maker. But anyway, Girls' Night Out is a 1982 American slasher film directed by Robert Dubell. It focuses on a group of female college students who are targeted by a killer in a bear mascot costume during an all-night scavenger hunt on their Ohio campus. So it's a college campus, college characters for the most part. So at Weston Hill Sanitarium in rural Ohio, psychiatric patient Dickie Kavanaugh commits suicide by hanging himself. Kavanaugh's sister gives permission to two grave diggers to bury the body. While the two men are digging the hole for Kavanaugh's body, they are attacked and murdered by an unseen killer who throws their corpses into the burial plot. Meanwhile, at nearby DeWitt University, the basketball team wins the championship game, and as a result, an all night scavenger hunt will take place the next evening for the female students. Lynn and her boyfriend, star player Teddy Ratliff, celebrate the victory at the campus diner, and the waitress Barney is thrilled for the team. Lynn, Teddy, and other students attend a party that evening where the story of Dickie where the, where the story of Dickie circulates among freshmen who are unaware of his recent death. They are told that Kavanaugh murdered his girlfriend Patty in a jealous rage and is locked away in a sanitarium. Len becomes jealous over Teddy's attraction to Don Sorensen, and misfit Mike Pryor gets into a fight with his girlfriend Sheila. Soon, school mascot Michael Benson is stabbed in his dorm room after arriving back from the party, and the bear mascot costume is stolen by the killer. So yeah, you can imagine the bear mascot costumes what the killer uses. So with that wording. So anyway, that's to set up the premise and the beginning of Girls' Night Out from 1982. As far as the cast goes, it's a large cast, and I probably put down more names than I should have. But Julia Montgomery plays Lynn Connors. James Carroll plays Teddy Ratliff. Suzanne Barnes is Don Sorensen. Rutanya Alda as Barney slash Katie Kavanaugh. Hal Holbrook is Jim McVeigh. Al McGuire is Coach Kimball. Lauren Marie Taylor is Sheila Robinson. You might recognize that name. She was in Friday the 13th Part 2 the year prior. David Holbrook is Mike Pryor, who's the son of Hal Holbrook, which is why I think Hal Holbrook was in this movie. Laura Summer as Jane. Mark McChesney as Pete Maniac Krizenak. Uh, Carrot Glenn as Kathy, and John Diderichsen Diderichsen as Ralph Bostwick. Those are some interesting names there. So yeah, That's to set up the premise and the cast for the 1982 horror slasher Girls' Night Out. I enjoyed this movie. I have to say, there's a lot of slasher movies that I've already reviewed, and we're only 3 years into the 80s. But I do like this one. I'm not going to lie about that. So let's just go ahead and get into some of the reasons why I like Girls' Night Out, besides the awesome release. Talking about the actual movie, and you got to start with the setting. I do think a college campus is a great setting for a slasher movie just because there's so many different locations, so many different areas. I think I've touched on this when I've reviewed other slasher movies like Graduation Day and whatnot, Final Exam, things like that. But the campus setting, I think, is one of the stronger slasher settings for sure, and I think it works really well here. This movie does a great job of utilizing the college setting, the campus setting, and really giving you that atmosphere that I don't think other movies did all the time. I really think the college coziness, the college setting atmosphere is prevalent in this movie. And that's the first thing I really noticed and that I really enjoy about this movie, quite frankly. It's I don't know how to describe it, but they just kind of get it. They understand what a college campus is all about in terms of the partying and the relationships and you've got your frat houses and your sororities and things like that. So yeah, that's the first thing that really stands out. The acting, I have to say, isn't terrible in this movie, especially for an early '80s slasher movie. I found the acting to be quite serviceable. In fact, having some seasoned veterans like Hal Holbrook and Rotanya Alda really gives the movie a bit more gravitas than a lot of other low budget slasher movies during this time. And it also gives the movie a little bit more groundness than you'd otherwise get. Um, Again, especially for a slasher during this time. But even the young cast like Julia Montgomery, James Carroll, Suzanne Barnes, I thought they all did a good job, at least a serviceable job. I've definitely seen slasher movies with worse acting in it for sure. I'm not saying that any of them should be nominated for an award, other than Hal Holbrook, of course, and probably Rutanya Alda in this movie. Those two are really good, as you can imagine, being seasoned veterans. But like I said, for the most part, I thought the cast as a whole was for a slasher movie was pretty good. So the acting was there for this movie. Um, the killer's mascot costume I thought was kind of different. It has a bladed claw that they include, and I really liked that. I thought it was different and unique for a slasher movie. I thought it was very effective for this movie. So yeah, it's a bit cheesy. You can't really see the whole thing here. I don't know if you can. No, you can't see it on any of that. It might be a bit of a cheesy look for a killer, but I thought it was effective, especially for the college campus where they spend a lot of time like among the trees, out in like a wooded area and stuff. So I don't know. I like that. I thought it was effective. It's not necessarily scary. It's more cheesy, but that's what I like about it. Early '80s cheese, a slasher movie cheese. But I really like the claw that was put on it. That's my favorite part of the look of the killer here. Got to talk about the music in the movie. There's a lot of songs during that time that are used that just make the movie more entertaining, more fun, more rewatchable. Um, Kind of background music. Yeah, it's even more so than the score. I thought the music that was inserted into the movie a little bit like Graduation Day, but I don't know. I almost might like the music more here. Boy, if I could get my words in the right order, that would be great for this review. Um, I don't know. I have to rewatch Graduation Day again. Though I've only seen it once, but I just remember this music sticking out a bit more to me. So really like the music in this movie. I also thought there were some good scenes of tension in the movie. You know, a lot of it takes place at night, of course, while there's scavenger hunts going on the night after the championship basketball game. So you get a lot of night shots, a lot of locations shots, which, like I said, is what I like about the campus setting, the college setting, and I thought they utilized it more better than other movies do. I thought there was a bit of build up and tension there. Of course, we do get our cheap jump scares like a raccoon or something in the garbage can. So it's definitely not without its cheap jump scares. But for the most part, I thought they did a good job with the tension, and I also thought there was, as I mentioned earlier, the atmosphere in this movie both the college atmosphere and the slasher atmosphere worked really well for me. So yeah, those are my pros for Girls' Night Out. I'm sure I could probably think of some other things, but I'm going to stop there for now and talk a little bit about the cons or the things that didn't work about this movie. And it's really just kind of typical slasher cons. I think there's too many characters that are introduced in this movie, and I'm talking about the college students. I think we're introduced to like 7 or 8, maybe even more college characters. And it felt like to me all the guys looked the same. They all had dark hair, with the exception of one dude had blonde hair, longer blonde hair, who was with a basketball star. I think he made the game-winning shot, if I remember right. Um, but other than that, like all the other guys, I couldn't tell them apart by name because they all had darker hair. Just too many characters. And again, they might have done that on purpose. It might have been intentional to throw the viewer off exactly who was who, so that you couldn't kind of try to guess who the killer was, because this is a whodunit slasher. But I found that to be a bit lazy and very cliche, as the characters are very cliche. You've got a lot of drama, a lot of relationships, breaking up and jumping around, hopping, bed hopping in this movie and things like that. But that's typical of a college campus setting like that. So I don't mind that so much, but I think it's just kind of lazy uh, to have so many characters just for that reason, if that is the reason. I'm just kind of guessing there, but some of the characters are pretty cliche, like the jock and the sort of outsider who's an obvious red herring. And I've watched enough of these movies to know that when they're trying to force a red herring, it's like, well, he's not the killer. Who else? So that's the first thing. There's no nudity in this movie. You do have some scenes of debauchery going on, shall we say. Like I said, bed hopping, but it's all under the sheets. You don't really see a whole lot in terms of gratuitous nudity or anything, and that's okay, I suppose. But it is, I do have to mention, because this is an American slasher movie during this time. Kind of makes it unique, because you always get nudity in a lot of these early '80s slasher movies. This one doesn't have any in. So if that's a slasher staple for you, then you're going to be kind of disappointed in that with this movie. I don't think I don't think the kills are anything to write home about. They're fine. You don't see, they don't focus a lot on them on screen. They're pretty typical slashes. There is blood, but not a lot in terms of gore. It's clear that they didn't really have like a big time special effects or gore effects, makeup effects sort of artist at work here. Tom Savini wasn't involved in this movie, and you can kind of tell the kills aren't something they really focus on in the movie, and that's okay. But I do have to bring it up, just like the nudity, because it is a slasher movie. So yeah, don't expect an overly gory slasher movie. It's not Friday the 13th, but there is blood. Like once they discover the bodies of the victims who have been killed before. And then I mentioned this before, but the red herrings, they really try to force them down our throats here. And to me, that just makes it even more obvious that it's not those people. Like I said, there's one character in this movie who's actually played by David Holbrook, Hal Holbrook's son in real life, Mike Pryor, who, let's just say that he's an obvious red herring. And so, like I said, if you've seen enough of these movies like me, you kind of know to rule him out right away. But boy, they did their best to really push him. So again, I can't really find, the story's not the strongest. We've seen this before, how it opens with a guy in an institution, or somebody that went crazy and killed people years before, and then something happens to them or they escape or something. That's kind of what, the story's typical. It's pretty straightforward, as it is in a lot of these slasher movies, and it is here as well. But I can't really rip that. Yeah, I don't know. I like this movie as a slasher. I really do, and I'm really glad to have it as a slasher movie from 1982. And I'm going to give this movie a 7.5 out of 10. It's not a perfect slasher movie, but it is one of the better slasher movies from the first 3 or 4 years of the early '80s, in my opinion. And I'm glad to have it. As I've said, I'm glad I watched it, and I would definitely recommend checking it out if you're a slasher fan, especially from the '80s. So 7.5 out of 10 for Girls' Night Out from 1982. Go ahead and comment down below if you guys have seen this movie, your thoughts on it. Do you like it more or less? Comment down below. Please like this video, hit the little notification bell, and please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. It would really help me out for the future content on my channel. So with that being said, I hope everybody's doing well. I hope you're enjoying this 1982 horror review series as part of my overall 1980s horror series. But with that being said, as always, you know it, stay scared. Bye.